Hello viewers, so from round 1 of the tournament we are viewing the game of Ted against Mr. Ironmonger. Now, I don't like where this starts already, f3 by Ted. Now the problem with this is obviously you block your knight and you open up all your squares on this diagonal, but he doesn't care and thinks he's probably good enough to beat Mr. Ironmonger because Magnus Carlsen, funnily enough, has done this before against weaker opponents. In a way, saying, if you lose to this, it's pretty embarrassing. Mr. Ironmonger continues with his normal development. I've seen him with ideas of fianchettoing this bishop on this diagonal, aiming to put this bishop and try and target this side of the board, the left-hand side, and especially attack the white rook if it's left undefended. Now Ted starts to play weirdly already with d3, playing quite passively, but probably wants to get his bishop out at some point, and possibly even challenge the bishop by landing on this h6 square when it's fianchetted on with this black bishop on g7. Now, knight e6 from Mr. Ironmonger, followed by c3, which I don't like again because you block your own knight in, and it's pretty pointless. Mr. Ironmonger plays e5, trying to take control of the center, which is what you should be doing anyways. And we see bishop e3, which isn't too bad of a development from Ted. Now bishop h6. And it's okay to take that bishop, because once it gets recaptured by the knight, that knight is on the edge of the board, not controlling many squares. Now, it's about here at some point, after a few of these moves, with Mr. Ironmonger taking up the entire center with no threat from Ted. Ted starts to pester Mr. Ironmonger with several draw offers, which is frankly bad etiquette. Just don't do that again. Now, the game continues with c4, which is not a good idea because after the pawn takes, we see a queen trade that helps black a lot because the king has now moved and cannot castle. Good luck, Ted. b6. Knight to d2, which with ideas of defending the c4 pawn, as it is controlling some space. Bishop f5. Knight to b3, which is totally strange for some reason. Maybe because this knight can come to here and attack this c2 square, which is defended by the bishop, or give some checks, which are quite nasty. Now, we see an epic move of castling queen side with check from Mr. Ironmonger. You don't see many moves like this, and Ted cannot allow that to happen. So, king e1, very calm of him, and mature, for once. Now, I don't like this move from Mr. Ironmonger, frankly, because it gives opportunities, if he does take that pawn on f3 later on, for his knight to develop out, which, well, we're trying to keep Ted's pieces back where they are, sleeping lazy at home. And Ted finds a pretty good move, e3, which blocks in this bishop right here, and it's defended by this bishop, and this bishop defends this pawn now. Now, we see knight a6, which is also not a very good move, because again, for a similar reason, if we take this knight and the pawn recaptures, you have these two pawns on these squares, which cannot be defended easily. You'd either have to bring your king out somewhere, but since we don't have a queen either, which can defend doubled pawns, well, one of them will fall at another point. But otherwise, we see knight to d4, which is perhaps a good idea. We attack this bishop, and we stop this rook from creating any threats on this d-file. However, we see our first blunder from Mr. Ironmonger, totally ignoring and should have gone to Specsavers after seeing this bishop, seeing this knight here. It should have been taken. After all, Ted now has a 3.5 advantage, significant so much that maybe he would have had a few winning chances here and there. Does Ted do this? No. And then loses more of his pieces, which isn't good. Now, he plays rook to c3, which is, well, ignoring the fact that there are two pieces looking at this knight and which will fall at some point anyways, which happens. This bishop is pretty strong now, defended by this rook, and can later take off this pawn if it's not defended. Anyways, Ted sacrifices the rook, and it's pretty much game over from here. This computer doesn't really care at this point, to be honest. Yeah, pretty hopeless. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Ted sacrifices everything. Okay. Wow. I have no words for this. Right, that's strange now. Okay. Right, so we're going on a king walk, eh? Gobbling up these pawns as we go along. Why not? Right. Check. Check again, I guess. Take this pawn again. Okay. Right, yeah. Totally hopeless. No chance of checkmating the other king. And I don't think this is going to get messed up, because after this final blunder, we can see when the kings stare at each other like this, they can't go into these squares here. So, for example, if there was a check with all these squares cut off, the king would have to retreat. But savagely, there's already a rook here. There's nowhere for this king to go. And after this, rook move, blocking all these squares, is simply checkmate. Game over.